cool waters of the Mississippi River look mighty inviting on a very hot day in Fairmont City, Illinois, home of the Gateway Nationals. Temperatures reaching 100 degrees here with about 50% humidity as we get ready for semifinal action in pro stock. In our first matchup, we'll see Harold Denton in the Party Time Pontiac going up against Billy Ewing in the Mountain Motored Machine from Snellville, Georgia.
Billy Ewing, who upset Tommy Mooney in the most previous round, so Ewing would like to bump off Harold Denton, the world record holder.
Ewing is number 5 in points, and he can move up because number 3 in points, Ricky Smith, is not here, nor Steve Schmidt, number 7, John Noble, number 9, or Terry Adams, number 10. They did not qualify for this field, so there's a lot of opportunity here if you can just keep moving up the ladder.
Billy Ewing just bought this new Oldsmobile, incidentally, from Don Beverly. Normally, Billy ran Chevrolet.
On the right, the Party Time Pontiac. On the left, the Ewing brothers in their Oldsmobile. Good start for Denton, and that means trouble because this is the quickest and fastest pro stock in the world. Denton takes it.
Harold Denton turns in a 7:51 at 186 miles per hour. He slowed down. He was in the 40s. More importantly, his reaction time slowed to a 5:58.
What do you think, Brett?
I'll tell you what, may have been a little bit of luck playing in your favor there. It looked like Billy Ewing got out on you, and you
Sure.
You did do it. In a 7:51, you slowed down a while.
Woo, man, that was bad. It shook pretty hard.
That's what his problem was, lots of tire shaking.
Track right now has gone away some from what we had earlier, but... You know.
It's 100 degrees, buddy.
Now we move on to our next matchup in this 100-degree weather. It will be Terry Walters from Roanoke, Virginia, number 16 in points coming in. He'll be going up against Tim Neighbors, number 8 in points.
Walters has been doing very well, upsetting Carlton Phillips and then Doug Kirk. I'll bet he'd love to get Tim Neighbors and add that to his trophy case.
Walters in the left lane. It's been the slower one all weekend, but Walters looked to have gotten the jump there on Neighbors, but quickly Neighbors drives around him and holds it to the finish.
Neighbors wins this strictly on ET, a 7:52 to Walters' 7:65, and Walters was first off the line.
We'll take another look at it as Tim Neighbors drove right around Terry Walters, upset-minded all weekend, but it's not going to work this time. The Mountain Motor comes through again. Here's Brett.
Well, Tim, we saw Harold Denton just run a 7:51, and your 7:52 just fell short for lane choice. Is that going to be a problem?
Well, both lanes are fairly equal. There might be a problem, but I don't believe there will be unless something happens to the lane between now and the final run.
Finished number 2 in the world last year. I know you don't like to concentrate on points races, but you got to be thinking about winning this thing.
Oh, I'd love to win it. I mean, we've had it been in the slump all year long, and this is the first race we've ever been past the first round this year, and it just feels good. If I could win it, it'd just be that much better.
Good luck to you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, Tim Neighbors may not think there's a difference, but I'll bet Harold Denton puts him in the right lane when we get to the Pro Stock Final. And now we move on to semifinal action in Nitro Funny Cars. The doctor is in. Doc Holliday, who knocked off Dal Denton in the first round. His opponent will be Chuck Etchells, the number 3 qualifier against the number 2 qualifier. Mike Edstrom beaten by Etchells in the quarterfinals.
Well, Chuck Etchells has been plenty hot. He actually started last year when he won the Fall Nationals Championship. Then he started out this year by winning the Winter Nationals. He's currently number 1 in the points. He is one hot driver right now.
And we talked earlier about how the drivers like to back up over those 2 strips of rubber laid down during the burnout. You saw Doc Holliday's burnout got considerably sideways, and so his burnout's not going to help him very much as he gropes for traction under these incredible conditions. 100 degrees, 50% humidity, oil coming up through the racetrack. Glad I'm not an engine tuner this weekend, Ted.
These two guys are matched very evenly. Doc went a 585 in the first round. Etchells went a 588. So either one of these drivers could win it. It's going to be back to who can set the clutch the best considering these intense heat conditions.
Etchells in the near lane in the beautiful Future Force funny car. As you see by the script on the side, Paul Smith in Top Fuel is Etchells' teammate. Etchells on the left, Holliday on the right. Holliday with the get-go. Etchells quickly to the center lane. He may have crossed it. He hazes the tires. At any rate, the doctor is in the final.
The doctor comes through with a brilliant 584, 250 miles per hour.
Let's take another look at this now. And look at Chuck Etchells in the left lane. He really had a handful that time.
Those tires broke loose and allowed the car to get bent completely out of shape. He got right over against that center line. He did manage to straighten it out, but by then it was all lost.
Great driving job by Chuck Etchels. We'll take another look. Watch him get just a little bit sideways off the starting line. It carries him right out to the center lane, and he does a great driving job to get it straightened out.
Actually, what happens, he gets out of his own tire tracks off of that groove, and that's why he broke loose, Bob.
I'll tell you what, that was a drag race, and I know that's one man you wanted to get around. Certainly the winningest driver in a long time. 584 to 585. It was 14 thousandths of a second in the lights.
Oh, it was close. I saw him right as we were going into the ET light, or the last mile-an-hour light. Somewhere I saw him, and I thought, did I make it or not? It was really close. Chuck's, they're great competitors. We knew it was going to be a tough race. We're going to have to work for it.
Let's take a look at the starting procedure. You see they're squirting alcohol in there to prime the engine and get it going. Now, you can actually hear when the nitromethane kicks in, you'll hear that real hearty, crackling sound, and you'll know that the car is then running on nitromethane.
It grabs you right in the middle of your chest and just squeezes. It is an amazing sensation being anywhere near the start of a nitro-powered funny car or a top-fuel dragster. And you saw there as they laid down the bodywork over both Mark Sievers and Freddie Neely. That's why these cars are called floppers, because the bodywork just hinged at the back, flops right down over car and engine. As we prepare for the next race, let's get to the pits with Brett.
When Jack Ostrander got out of his car after his first round victory in the top end, he said, something happened, but I don't know what it was. They came back to the pits, and they found out, and what a story it is. Down around the 1,000-foot mark, the rear end in the 300-bolt top-fuel car broke. You can see where the pinion gear is just chewed up to death. That, in turn, destroyed the ring gear on this car, chewing the teeth right out of that. When the rear end locked up, it broke the drivetrain strength. That zinged the engine, and the cylinder heads got damaged. If we go down here to the cylinder heads, you'll see that in the combustion chambers, the valves are bent, actually bent right out of the seat because of the high RPM. When the valves bent, one hung open and exploded the supercharger. So Jack Ostrander thought what was a small problem is now definitely a major overhaul to get ready for the semifinal round. This is a lot of damage. We're talking 30 grand worth, and this team still has to replace everything for the next round.
Wow. Well, let's take care of business in Nitro Funny Car right now. It'll be Freddie Neely in this car up against Mark Sievers.
Sievers staging very carefully. He advanced here by beating Gary Litton. Freddie Neely defeated Steve Litton, the family.
Neely in the right lane, Sievers in the left lane. Both cars away quickly. Both haze the tires, but Sievers holds it together and gets there.
Well, this time he wasn't able to drive out of it. Neely, who went up and smoked before and drove out of it to win the race, couldn't pull it off this time. We'll look at it one more time.
In the right lane, you see Freddie Neely. Too much of that horsepower got to the racetrack. Off the launch pad, both cars hazed the tires.
Well, for a guy who hasn't been doing this too long, it must be nice to be in a final round. And when you beat the track record holder and #1 qualifier to do it, that's got to be nice, too.
Yeah, I ran a little better. We picked it up a little bit. Still smoked the tires in the center.
In a big way. Neely smoked them more, though. 596.
Yeah. No, when the first pass, we took all the power away and took all the clutch away. Tried running it some way we never ran it before. Well, let's put some power back in and see what happens. I'd rather smoke the tires than go on a blaze of glory.
Well, by virtue of a 589 to a 595, Doc Holliday will have lane choice over Mark Sievers in the Nitro Funny Car final. We move on now to semifinal action in Top Fuel. Our first matchup, Richard Holcomb, the points leader and #2 qualifier from Stockbridge, Georgia, up against John Carey, the #3 man in points and the #3 qualifier.
Holcomb, you know, has that very different rear end that's very, very narrow. Meanwhile, we are in the car with John Carey, as you can see some of what he goes through during the burnout procedure.
Now, we're going to be working on this point of view camera as the season goes on. The incredible electric force set up by these engines when they put the foot down is really too much for our cameras, but we're going to keep working on it, and we expect to bring you some extraordinary shots as the IHRA season goes on.
You can see backing up right there, John Carey. There's not a lot to do when he's backing the car up. We may see his crewman come around in front of him just a minute to get a bird's eye view because he's actually blind. He doesn't understand what's happening. He just backs up until he sees that crew chief.
No rear view mirrors on a Top Fuel dragster. You see all the wires going into the cylinder heads and the valve covers. 2 spark plugs in every cylinder just to handle the sheer volume of nitromethane fuel that flows into these cylinders.
John Carey now from the outside looking in, getting ready to stage that car. He'll wait on his crew chief standing out in front of him, telling him what to do. Now he's telling him to stage the car, put it right on the line.
cars are away. Little trouble in the left lane, and then big trouble as Carey goes up in smoke, but keeps his foot in it. It's still a drag race to the end, but Holcomb pulls it out.
Wow, Richard Holcomb, 565, 259.26 miles per hour. He went off the track on the shutdown. We'll have to have one more look at this because this race was very close. Carey up in smoke, but stands in it. He will not lift. He still thinks he has a shot at Holcomb. He's out in front of him, actually, until we get to the finish line. Now, Holcomb has a little bit of problem as the chute begins to blossom. Watch the rear end of the car start coming around. He's losing control of it now as he's trying to shut it down. We'll see him go off to the right side of the track, actually into the grass surface there. He's going to take a little bit of a hard ride. Remember, this guy is 52 years old. He's had a little bit of problem before.
Bad back has Richard Holcomb. Now, before we get to his problem, let's take a ride with John Carey in this incredible form of motorsport.
That's an actual speed. That's just exactly how long it takes him to do that, Bob.
And that is amazing. I'm looking forward to that the rest of the year. Meanwhile, let's find out more about Richard Holcomb's situation with Brett.
Side here?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Let's get out.
Hey, Ron, John.
That's fine, John. I'm fine.
Old man, if you need a substitute next round, I'm available.
I'll be all right.
Did you hear that, Richard? John Carey just said if you need a substitute driver in the next round, he'll be there, but you won.
He'd be a good one.
11 thousandths of a second in the lights.
This number one substitute. I don't know. You know, I know it was close, and I was coming back up on him, but I didn't know whether I'd outrun him or not.
Meanwhile, back at the other end of the racetrack, Jack Ostrander has a problem. They can't get the car in reverse, and the crew's going to try to push him back in time.
Well, the problem is Mike Brotherton's been sitting there waiting to stage the car all this time. He now stages the car. These cars build up tremendous heat very rapidly, so the starter just can't wait. He gives the tree to Mike Brotherton. A tough way to lose for Jack Ostrander with a broke reverser.
And Brotherton keeps his foot in it. He goes 539, 262 miles per hour, despite an 881 reaction time. There you see Jack Ostrander. It is too late for Ostrander. Brotherton will have lane choice over Richard Holcomb at age 57, the oldest winner of a top fuel race in IHRA history.
Twice a week, Eurosport leaps the Atlantic, slips into something quite outrageous, and clambers into the ring with the members of the World Wrestling Federation, the superstars of wrestling and prime time wrestling. A double date you'll never forget, Tuesdays and Saturdays. Into 91 on Eurosport. New Year's Day live in Pasadena for the whole of the Rose Bowl. 98 hours of live play from the World Snooker Masters in Birmingham. Daily live coverage of the World Swimming and Diving Championships in Perth, Australia. Top international team tennis, the Hoffman Cup, plus the Australian Hardcourt Championships. The WWF Survivor Series, parts 1 and 2 from Hartford, Connecticut. And winter sports, ice hockey, the European Figure Skating Championships, World Cup skiing. Join us in January on Eurosport.
We're ready for the finals in Pro Stock, and this is the Party Time Pontiac of Harold Denton, the quickest and fastest Pro Stock in the world.
This should be a great final. You're looking now at Tim Neighbors, who finished number 2 in the points in 1989, and it looks like he's back on the winning trail, having bumped off some very impressive competitors to get here.
It is Neighbors in the near lane, Denton in the far lane, two mountain-motored cars. Those are engines of more than 500 cubic inches. They're away, and it's a clean start. Looks like Neighbors in the left lane bounces it, but has the advantage at half track. I think Denton got him. No, it's Neighbors.
Tim Neighbors wins it with a 5:15. He beat him off the line 7.49 seconds, but listen to this. Denton went a 7.48 with an 8 at 186. Let's take a look at it, really how close this race was.
Forget this heat. You want to talk about coming through under pressure? 7:49 for you, 186. 7:48 for Harold Denton, 186. The true win margin at the finish line, 0.03 of a second.
I knew he was right there. I mean, that was one good run. This one's for Pop. This is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
And I'm sure he's going to be a happy father indeed. We move on to Nitro Funny Car Final. Mark Sievers in the bright yellow machine up against Doc Holliday in the blue Dodge Daytona.
Keep in mind, this is the Doctor's track. He's been running faster here today than Sievers has. He also won this event last year, so Doc has to be the favorite in this final matchup.
Cars come to the line.
Both cars staging very carefully now as everything is on the line for this run. The Doctor will stage first.
Two cars move as one. That's a little unusual. Usually the competitors like to watch each other into the box. But they are both there now, or they will be when the lights come on in the lower half of the tree. They are away. Good start for the Doctor. Let's watch for hazing tires in the left lane. We've seen it all day, and it gets Sievers now. Holliday wins.
Sievers had to shut it down. Doc Holliday, 5.79, 254 miles per hour as he went quicker. He kept going quicker all day long as he found the right setup for this hot track. Let's look one more time at what happened with Mark Sievers.
Sievers got offline right at the start. We've seen it so many times today. He hazed the tires when he got sideways, had to lift, and there you'll see it right here. As Sievers gets sideways, it's Doctor's race.
Finally, in 1990, I get to beat Ted Jones to the phrase, the Doctor is in.
Oh, thanks, Brett. It's great. I want to thank Mopar, Arbery's my bar, and McCrady's my bar, and all the guys in my crew, Jerry, Pete, Eddie, Gordy, and Craig. They did a great job. We've had a good weekend.
Well, you may have beaten Ted to it, Brett, but you didn't beat me. We move on to Top Fuel, matching up Richard Holcomb and Michael Brotherton.
This should also be an absolutely great run. Brotherton, who has not won a national event victory on the IHRA trail. Richard Holcomb, who won the Winter National and is the current point leader.
Now, Tim Neighbors took the right lane and won. I said that he would probably be put there by Harold Denton. Now, in the left lane, we've seen nothing but winners in Top Fuel. Each round has seen a winner in the left lane. Nobody has yet won from the driver's right in the Top Fuel classification.
Keep in mind, Brotherton is better dialed into this track. In the most previous round, he ran a 5:39. The round before that, a 5:34. Holcomb could only muster up a 5:65, and in the previous round before that, he ran a 5:34.
Brotherton has reset track records for ET and miles an hour today. The two cars are away. It's side by side, but Brotherton in the far lane pulls it out. The left lane holds true in Top Fuel.
Brotherton, a 5:36, 264 miles per hour to pull the win out. This is his first ever IHRA national event victory, and he also ends up holding low ET and top speed of the event as we watch it one more time.
You can't get a better sweep than that. Little bit of tire hazing and some shake in the left lane from Richard Holcomb. After a day of 100-degree temperatures and 50% humidity, storm clouds begin to roll in over Gateway International Raceway in Fairmont City, Illinois. It's been a great weekend at the Gateway Nationals. Let's take a look at series points as they stand right now, Ted.
Well, Richard Holcomb, with that runner-up finish combined with the Winter Nationals victory, goes to number 1. Jack Ostrander in 2, and John Carey holds down the 3rd position. In Nitro Funny Car, the Doctor is definitely in 1st place. Chuck Etchels bringing up 2nd. Freddie Neely, the number 1 qualifier, to 3rd. Tommy Mooney still on top with that double victory, but Harold Denton nipping at his heels.